Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-Related YouTube channel. Hope everyone's doing very well. We're back again, back on those daily live streams for you guys. All transfer news, transfer updates, what's going on with Morgan Gibbs-White. Is there any news on Adam Wharton? And a little bit more to bring you in terms of some Spurs content from the training ground today and also from the Kudus medical. In terms of how Tottenham days go, it's been pretty non-chaotic, but there is still quite a bit to get through. I'm back alongside Frank Thomas, aka Thomas Frank's AI partner. Frank, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right. It's obviously quite a big week this week with Thomas Frank's first game, and hopefully of many. So I'm excited, sort of, I'll be able to dive into that a little bit and over the next week, and yeah, look forward to hopefully the start of a really special, hopefully, era.
Absolutely excited for the new era at Tottenham Hotspur, the Thomas Frank era, the Thomas the Frank engine era, in fact. Looking forward to it's exciting, right? We've got investment. It's not official, but we definitely got some sort of investment coming through. You don't just spend 60 million and 55 million within the space of 24 hours. Just doesn't happen. So definitely something going on there. Let's see those numbers grow. Let's see that like button smash, guys. The support has been phenomenal the last couple of days. I mean, we've grown about 600 subscribers. Incredible amount of support. So keep smashing that like button to help us out. Keep smashing that subscribe button. And also keep hitting the notification bell. Ding them on. Ding, ding. So you never miss when we go live, just like the 50 or so of you people that have already joined. Steampunk Cowboys in here saying, let's go, COYS. How are we all today? All good. Thanks, mate. Hope you're doing well. Eugene saying, big up, boys. Found your pod and been enjoying it. Really appreciate that, Eugene. Hope you're doing well, mate. And Stan Thomas saying, must be related to you. Any news on Gibbs-White? We'll get into that, Stan. Frank and I will get into that. Luke saying hello. Hello, Luke. How's things going? Anyway, guys, keep smashing your comments in. Like the stream. Subscribe if you're new. And let's get straight into it. So, what have we got going on today, Frank? Well, the latest on Morgan Gibbs-White. Fabrizio Romano on Tottenham still confident on the subject of are Tottenham still confident on signing Morgan Gibbs-White. He said, yes, they are. It's a tense situation, but Spurs hope to be able to proceed soon. Frank, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what we said yesterday, wasn't it? It's not maybe a major update as what's maybe the update that we want, but I mean, it's good news. It's good news. It's probably getting close. I mean, we'll talk. I've got the bit to talk about in a little while about basically Forest don't have a leg to stand on, and that's simply the case of it. I'm glad that hopefully it'll be done. I think Spurs, as I said yesterday, have just taken a step back and kind of distance themselves from the situation to let Forest calm down a bit. Obviously, they've sent their legal action today and all this, and I think once that's been sent, I think this will speed up and it will happen in the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been officially submitted today. This whole legal action about, apparently we've illegally approached Morgan Gibbs-White. Well, I mean, this owner's getting some serious heat on on socials. I've seen all sorts, AI sort of pictures of him, and obviously the video resurfaced of him moaning about, to Nuno on the pitch. I think that was after they won or something silly. Absolutely silly behaviour. Silly is the right word. And here he is. Here is that man we're talking about. He said Nottingham Forest have now made their legal complaint over Tottenham's move for Gibbs-White, according to Tom Barkley. So, as we said, a lot of sources today saying that the legal complaint has been put in and that that process has started. Is that Frank? Is that potentially the start of the end in a way that the legal complaint's been put in? Now we deal with it. Now we counter it. Now we thrash it out. However it happens, and then could we see Morgan Gibbs-White at the end of the week? Do you reckon?
I think so. I said the other day, I'll be surprised if Gibbs-White isn't a Spurs player this week, or at least we know it's done this week. Do you know what I mean? This noise is finished. I think it's just as a case of Marinakis feeling embarrassed, and they've lost Elanga and Gibbs-White in the same week. And the time where Forest got Europe, and this should be a time they push on, and they've lost probably their two best players. So he's throwing his toys out the pram. I think it was always going to be this. I think it will get sorted in the next couple of days, and I hope it does, because I mean I've waxed lyrical about Gibbs-White in the last few days, and for the last little while I think he's brilliant. So
yeah, top player, top player. Let's hope it gets done. Let's catch up with the chat, Frank. There's 110 of you already. Crazy support after 5 minutes of being live. I'm guessing those people that have come in earlier have got those notey bells on that we love to ring and ding on. Let's like I said, catch up on the chat. So Luke is saying would love Belaber as a number 6 or Wharton. Eugene saying never trust a man with 2 first names. Frank Thomas. Thomas Frank. I hope we trust our manager at least, even if it's not Frank alongside me. Callie's back in here. Says Vissa next. Humland, Paulinia next, Giro Hatto next, Sim. God, this is a long list. Wharton is good, but 100 million, no need for 8 finish. Sell Son, Richie, and Basuma. I agree with a lot of that. Does the Gibbs-White hurt your other transfers going on? Good question. I mean, certainly slows things down. The attention has to be focused on there. I mean, I'd like to think that Paratici or the likes are cooking up something in the background separately, but let's see. Apollo Sausage, Hayden Hackney. We did do a little thing about Hayden Hackney yesterday. Well, we gave him a little mention when we were discussing potential 6s. Liston's back in here. Welcome, Liston. He said, no coincidence. Gibbs-White was wearing blue and white on the Forest training. Yes, we do. We do have to mention that Gibbs-White has turned up for Forest training today. And I guess, Frank, it's part of his contract, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're a Forest player until you're contractually not, and so that's in any line of work. That's how it works. You're there until you're told that you don't have to be anymore. And so that's a case of that. If he like Kudus was trained for West Ham the day before he joined Tottenham, so it's not like I don't think there's too much to read into it. I like the fact he was wearing blue and white. I imagine that was done intentionally. I don't know, but I know he's one that likes his fashion sense and things. You see all these posts of him, so I imagine it was done with some form of intent.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's an interesting one. Lots of talk already in the chat about number 6s. I'm sure we'll have a little segment talking about that. But let's talk about this, Frank, and I'll let you take the mic on this one, because hopefully that's big enough. I mean, that's quite small on my screen. Hopefully that's big on your guys' tellies and everything else. But in terms of what has been said about what will happen with this legal case, and what essentially is the scenario and the key legal questions.
So basically, to sum the whole thing up, to make it as non-confusing as possible, Forest's whole argument is that there was an NDA, there's a non-disclosure agreement, and that the idea that this secret release clause should not have been disclosed with anyone else other than Forest, the agent, Morgan Gibbs-White himself. And so there's been this whole back and forth thing that an NDA, but basically an NDA does not cover a release clause. It doesn't cover the contractual rights such as a release clause. And so basically, to put it really simply, Forest don't have a leg to stand on. As it says at the bottom, to block the move, they basically have to show a number of different bits of proof of this and that, and so as kind of the whole thing we've kind of thought it is going to be delayed, certainly, and as it has been, but they can't do much else than what they're doing.
Got it. So essentially, that's good news, right? That's good news that essentially nothing can go wrong and nothing can be pulled on this.
Exactly. I mean, I think this was kind of always going to be the case, but they're going to complain, they're going to throw their toys out the pram, but given as well that Daniel Levy is, and I want to say this in confidence, I think this is true. Daniel Levy is the head of the chairman association in the Premier League, i.e. that he speaks for the other chairman of the Premier League at Premier League, conferences and things like that. Or he's certainly one of the key figures in that. And so I don't see a world where the Premier League and the FA are going to turn around to somebody who somewhat their golden child, because he's probably one of the more, usually legally sort of straight ones, and one of the ones that's certainly more, I don't know how to put it, but you kind of get my point, that he's one that's certainly a little bit less inclined to go on a more
He abides. He
wrong.
abides by the rules
Yeah,
more. He's to the letter of the law. He's a goody two shoes when it comes to the legal side of things, right?
exactly. And so the Premier League and the FA are probably going to side with him on this, given that Marinakis has quite a poor history of just complaining about things and filing these court things. And he did it against Gary Neville. He did it against, there was another one relatively recent. Obviously, he's done the Crystal Palace one recently. There was another one about a month ago. I can't remember which one. But in like the last 2 months, he's filed 3 or 4 different things because he's throwing his toys out the pram. So I'm quite relaxed. I think it's going to get done. I think, as I say, Forest don't really have a leg to stand on. But yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to know that he's sort of lost his temper a little bit, seeing as they've lost Elanga, Morgan, Gibbs-White. I know some of their other star players are linked away, and potentially a big part of that was the fact that Forest missed out on Champions League. They were in such an amazing position for a lot of the season, being in the top 4, and suddenly, bang! It just is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let's move on to talking about actually a couple questions in the chat. We'll bring them up and I'll answer some of them. When is the court thing going to start? For me, well, they've submitted the legal action today. Forest have, and so that you'd like to think that the ball is rolling on that side of things. We're going to probably have an update from Fabrizio Romano probably by tomorrow. So stay tuned on the channel. As soon as something comes out, we'll bring it to you, whether that's a live stream or a video. But essentially no big update in terms of when the court actually starts, or whether they even go to court. Whether what the actual specifics are will come out very, very soon. That is for sure. And I'm, for those that are joining, because the numbers are growing, I'm going to leave this on the screen. This sort of summary of what's happening, because I do feel it's very useful. It's a very useful sort of document to sort of review. The key legal questions are there. Does an NDA override the enforceability of a release clause? No, it doesn't. An NDA governs confidentiality and not contractual rights like a release clause. Essentially, in summary, like Frank said, to block the move, the seller must show the NDA makes confidentiality a condition precedent to the clause being valid. This is all very legal terms, guys. Very, very much sort of lawyer language. But essentially, they can't do anything other than essentially slow it down. They're gonna have a very, very hard time getting this deal blocked. I can assure you of that. Christopher's saying they'll go to the Premier League first, potentially. But again, I just think a release clause is there to be met, and you can't have a secret release clause, can you, Frank?
No. I mean, I'm not, clued up on the lawyer stuff, but I think I read something that having a secret release clause in itself is actually an illegality. I could be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere. I can't remember where from. So, and as I've kind of said, that Marinakis is probably not in terms of wrongdoings and things, probably not the cleanest owner in the Premier League. I think that's, there's enough stories out there that you can go and find and have links to some pretty terrible things over time that he's been a part of. And so I don't see a world where he's going to all of a sudden have the Premier League or the FA or, all these guys on their side without giving them a massive backhander. And that's just not going to happen because Forest financially can't do that. So I don't. This is going to happen. I think this is going to happen in the next couple of days, in the next week. It might take 2 weeks, but I don't think it will hold up other signings. I think Spurs will be working. I mean, it might hold up, like as in they might still have Eze on standby. Eze might be they're still, and if Gibbs-White doesn't happen, then they'll go and pull the trigger on the Eze release clause. That might be something that will happen. But I think in terms of if they want to buy a left back or something, this shouldn't really do anything to affect it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Spurs lawyers will be on the case as well. They'll be dealing with that. We got Paratici cooking in the background doing something. Let's be honest, guys. Paratici is involved as well from some of these signings. That's for sure. We don't even mention him much because it's not essentially after his ban, things went a bit quiet, and his ban only got lifted, I think, last month. So I mean, or it might even been this month. So it's like, something's happening there. It's 100%. Get Federico Redondo from Inter Miami. Good young midfielder. I think he's tall. Frank, you know much about this guy?
I know enough. I know enough. He was at River Plate or one of them in Argentina, and then Miami bought him because I think Messi basically said that he was brilliant when he was like 19 or something.
Oh, we're not getting him off them then. If he's one of their, is he a starter for them?
I think he plays enough. I'm not caught up enough, but I think he plays enough that he'd be brilliant. Because I think he looks like a really good player. He sort of has a bit of an air of Busquets to him, but I don't think that'd be one that we'll do, sadly.
Got it. I thought this was an interesting point from Apollo. He said, remember when we were top of the league under Ange? Seems like a long time ago. And then the Premier League suddenly wanted to investigate a dodgy transfer with Defoe and Portsmouth for involving Harry Redknapp. Do you remember that? It's incredible how...
Yeah, that was bizarre. But yeah, that's the thing. It's the tall poppy syndrome, isn't it? That they don't want to see clubs and managers and players that don't usually do well because it's not Manchester United or it's not. So they'll sit there and complain about it until, you know. And this feels like it's another case of that.
Yeah, I saw this comment in the chat earlier. I think Stephen, it might have even been you on one of our shorts. The Gibbs-White shirt number just released. It's 60. Brilliant. Okay, so SDFC, San Diego FC, big up you all the way from America, I'd assume, San Diego. They've got San Diego. Sorry, this is really off topic. They got Herving Lozano, haven't they? The Mexican player that used to play up front for PSV. Oh, that is ridiculous knowledge if I got that right.
That's a sensational ball if you have.
That is. This Marinakis guy is moving like he's Florentina Perez. I mean, yeah, he does think he's that, but he hasn't got the credentials to sort of go with that.
That's an unbelievable shout. He is at San Diego. Yeah. That's really impressive.
Look at that. There you go. Proves my MLS knowledge as well. Will this hold up any new signings? As we said, Keith, shouldn't do, but you know, as soon as that deal's done, you'd expect an acceleration on hopefully a number 6. I want to see that as a minimum. Kudus is obviously done. Takai is obviously done. Tell is on a permanent. That's done. When Gibbs-White goes through, then you'd want a number 6. Then you can say you've got 5 solid signings this summer and you can go into the new season. Ideally, I'd like another left back as well, because I feel like when Reguilon left, there's now room for a backup left back. Do you think, Frank, I know we talked about a lot about number 6s. I feel like we need to talk about maybe backup left back. Someone else put it as well. Before I get your thoughts on the left back, Frank, 240 of you live on YouTube, guys. Amazing support. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Hope you are enjoying these shows, by the way. Please do hit the like button. There's a 42 likes, 240 watching. Got to get that to at least 150, surely. Subscribe if you are new, and also hit the notification bells on, because then you never miss us going live, and you can interact with us in the chat, talk about Spurs amongst you in a community. So ring on those bells. It's all free to do so. All absolutely free. Like, subscribe, and turn on those noti bells and ding them on. Callum's back in here saying, I can't even bring some of these comments up, actually. I can't even. You're not getting Gibbs-White. Red Skull, clip me saying this. We'll get Gibbs-White, and if we don't, I'll write you a formal apology. Okay? And you've put it twice. I can see it. Stephen Wilson, 2 weeks ago, we made Bubbles cry. Last week, we made... Crumbs. I need to start reading these before I bring them on screen. Anyway, right. There we go. Gibbs-White is pictured at Nottingham Forest training today. It's one that's got Spurs Twitter in full flow. I think that's fair to say, Frank. Everyone's saying, wearing blue and white, getting ready for wearing blue and white at Tottenham. And a lot of, 90% of the comments on that Nottingham Forest post were Spurs fans going, enjoy him while you've got him at the training ground for one more time. Again, this shouldn't worry us, should it, Frank?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I say, he's contractually a Forest player until he's not, and so he has to be there to avoid getting fined and getting in trouble. But as I say, I like the fact that he's worn blue and white. Whether or not that was intentional, I don't know. I hope it was, because that's really funny.
Very funny.
I think that's great. But Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I don't think it's anything to really read into. Maybe the color of his outfit is, but yeah, I don't. The fact that he's there, I did like. I was looking through the replies on the Forest tweet actually, and they hid one reply, and it was a picture from a Spurs fan of the owner, and they'd obviously put him into some filter that had made him larger, about 50 times larger. And Forest had hidden it and blocked it, and that did make me smile.
Brilliant. I mean, the internet can be cruel at times, but it can be wonderful at times as well. I just thought I'd also mention I saw something, again, not transfer related, but I saw that Spurs fans had found Morgan Gibbs-White's old Twitter page from when he was about 12, saying like he can't wait to go to school. He's just won a match 6-0, and people were quote tweeting saying he's predicting the Burnley match and stuff like that. So yeah, incredible bit of social media banter there. Okay, Frank, let's move on to, we've talked a lot about Morgan Gibbs-White. I mean, there's an awful lot of their comments in the chat. Keep working in your comments, guys. I can't obviously bring up every single one because listen, I'm overwhelmed with the support, but I cannot bring up every single comment, especially when there's a few explicits in there. So got to be careful what I bring in. Okay, little one, not a transfer update, but in terms of an update on Kudus and a bit of content related to his medical. It's quite cool. He said, the doctor said, just going to listen to your heart, okay? And Mohamed Kudus said, you'll find Spurs in there. And everyone was loving that one. Didn't he say, didn't the doctor also say, Frank, that he can hear the cockerel or something? Love it. I've actually got the video. Hopefully it will work. Hopefully I'll be able to share it. And if I get copyrighted, then we're in the mud and we won't do that again. Let's try and bring that on. Removing that. Here we go. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can hear that. Frank, give me the thumbs up if you can hear it.
Listen to your heart, okay?
You find Spurs there.
Yeah, I find it. I can hear the cockerel now very clearly. I'm going to listen to your heart, okay?
Brilliant. I thought that was. I don't know why. I just thought that was class. Absolutely class.
I've seen a real lot of West Ham fans just whinging and moaning about it, and a load of people going, "Oh, they're so unfunny, and they're this and that, and it's all cringe." And I think it's great. I think it's funny, and I think it's great because you've got someone there that he realizes that this is I imagine he realizes. I imagine he's not an idiot. He realizes the severity of moving from West Ham to Tottenham. And so he's trying to get Spurs fans on side as quickly as he can, because obviously there might be a little sort of frostiness, and also winding up West Ham fans at the same time. I mean, I've got a mate that's a West Ham fan, and I sent that and just left it at that, and he weren't best pleased. So it does make me laugh that just it's nothing that's that bad, but it's just the slight ridiculousness of a clip like that seems to be winding them all up. It is quite funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of it, and the admins know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, especially with the Kudus, announcement, and then him shaking hands with Van der Ven. It's all part of it. It's all part of the fun, and it gets that player bedded in more with the club. Straight away. The fact that the fans are loving the rivalry side of it with West Ham. I mean, it's going to be interesting, that West Ham Tottenham game in a few months' time. Very, very interesting. Lee Emerickson here says, so Gibbs-White isn't coming to Spurs. I'm so worried. Listen, mate, if you've just joined, we rewind about for the first 20 minutes and we update you. You shouldn't be worried. It's just a case of time. I mean, Frank, we could be standing here, tomorrow saying, what on earth are we, what have we done? But I can't see it happening. As we said, we brought up the legal documentation. It almost seems like it's a matter of time, that that's going to happen. All sorts kind of in the chat. Let's talk about also another thing from today, which was that on Udoji's, it's either Snapchat, I think that's Snapchat, is it, Frank, or Instagram? That's Snapchat, isn't it?
I think it's Snapchat, yeah.
Snapchat, on Udoji's Snapchat story. It's interesting because he took a video of, I think it was Sarr and Basuma, I think, and in the background there is a picture on the TV, and this was an interesting one, guys, because I don't think a lot of people have talked about this. And you can see on there it says schedule. Looks like they got breakfast. Then it says swimming, meeting, medical and individual prep, core prep, training, then lunch, and then training says prep. I can't read that second and third, back-to-back goals possession or something. And then you see at the bottom, it says long throw audition. Long throw audition. Frank, that is, I mean, we're talking about Rory Delap here, or are we talking about Tottenham Hotspur? It's an interesting one. Whether that's preparing to take long throw-ins or defend them is another matter. But what did you make of that?
I think we've got Tony Pulis in charge. I'm expecting to see Thomas Frank with a cap on next season. It's. I think it's good. I think it's really good because we don't. And I know it's only a little thing and something that we weren't supposed to pick up on, but it's a good thing because we were so ineffective from set pieces, defensively and offensively last year. You know, I can probably count the amount of times that the amount of times that we've actually given just throw-ons away, just literally thrown it away last year. We were just sloppy with things. There was such in all set pieces. There was such a just a lack of actual real plan or idea. This is what we're going to try and do out of this. They had no real clue. And set pieces, as we saw with Arsenal this year, and we all laughed at them, and it is very funny. They've got a mural, the coach, and the coach is a bit of an idiot. But having said that, they are such an important part of the game now. They're like massively integral because from corners and free kicks, you can probably score 6 or 7 goals a season, maybe more. Romero, your centre backs, Romero and Van der Ven, or whoever, probably get you 6, 7, 8 goals a season, and they could take you from being 7th to being 4th. And so it's really important. So Brentford got good at the long throws and different sort of set piece routines and things. So I think it's good.
100% is good. I think there's going to be all sorts of little tweaks that Thomas Frank's going to be making to our style of play. Of course, that goes without saying. But there's little things about maybe corners and how bad we were at defending corners is one thing. I hope that Thomas Frank instills a much more solid approach to them, especially with Vicaria coming out. Call him Flappy Bird sometimes. It's like he absolutely flaps at the crosses. He needs to actually come and catch it and calm down that those corners, man. Honestly, I'm having flashbacks to it. But it's interesting, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments about this. I say Destiny Udoji's leaked it. He hasn't really. He probably doesn't even realise that he's put that on. He's probably not even thought that's on the screen. It's not that confidential. It's just, at the end of the day, there's long throw audition is an interesting point. Also, Frank, the other thing is I've not even thought about it like this. They could have just put on something absolutely random, knowing the players upload to their story, and it's not even what they're doing. That could also be an option. But yeah, I'm sure that something is going on there. So guys, let me know what you are thinking. A lot of arguing going on in the chat today, guys. A lot of arguing. I like this being a feel-good atmosphere here. I don't know why. There's arguing in the chat. But anyway, trying to find the chats that aren't arguments. Simon saying, "Evening. What have I missed transfers-wise? You haven't missed much other than the Morgan Gibbs-White update, which was for the first 20 minutes of this live stream. And essentially, Forest has submitted their legal action today. The transfer should still go through. Touch wood. And it's just a matter of time. It's just delaying it. And as Fabrizio Romano said, I'll bring it back on screen again. It's essentially it's a tense situation, but Spurs hope to be able to proceed soon. So all good, hopefully. I keep saying hopefully. Lots of people keep coming in here and saying that it's not happening, which is like sort of unsettling, but I stick to my laurels. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Stan, a lot of arguments about Stan. Anyway, any new potential signings? Good question, Abdul Rahman. The short of it is there isn't any concrete tier 1 links. However, we are going to get into talking a little bit about potential links in just a moment's time. What else? Frank, is it tactics time? Is it tactics time? Is it talking about tactics time and potential signings? Because we talked about the left back and how we may need a different type of left back to Udoji, or at least a backup one. Should we maybe explain how that could work and also the different sort of the fluidity of the formation that Thomas Frank would be playing?
Yeah, let's have a look. 1 second. Let me.
No problem, guys. I'll go back to the chat while Frank's loading up the lineups.
There you go.
Let's see, 300 of you in the house. Absolutely amazing support, guys. I really do appreciate it. Honestly, I know I say I really appreciate it, but I really honestly do. You know, hand on heart, appreciate all the support. 80 likes. Let's try and get it to 150 likes before we come offline. And keep subscribing. On the way to 4,000 subscribers. Only hit 3K 2 days ago. So hit the subscribe button if you are new. And comment your thoughts as well as turning on those notification bells because we're going live or doing a video every single day for you. Transfer updates, tactical analysis, vlogs at games, fan-led content. Going to be interviewing fans outside the stadium. Let me know if you fancy an interview next season outside the stadium because that sort of content's coming. Honestly, Spurs related, we are smashing out the content, guys. So really appreciate all the support. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and turn on those noti bells. Give me a little ring in the comments if you put your notification bells on. Frank Thomas is about to teach us about Thomas Frank. It's an absolute pleasure, isn't it? It is an absolute pleasure. Right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Frank, so yesterday, obviously, in our live stream, we were talking about how Morgan Gibbs-White fits in and how, you know, essentially we may need a number 6 depending on how things play out with the Morgan Gibbs-White thing. But I mean, as we know, Morgan Gibbs-White isn't a number 6. He is more of a number 8 / a number 10. So you've put in Hatto straight away. I'll let you take the mic for this one.
I've only put him in because he's probably the one I want the most of the lot. The only thing with him though is he's probably one that's going to demand to or want to play a lot. He's played, I was looking last night, he's played 96 games for Ajax already. He's 19. He's captained them a number of times, so he's going to want to play wherever he goes. So I don't think he'll be the one. I would suspect it will probably be because they'll be cheaper and they'll be easy to do. Is either Dennis Kirkin or Carl Peters, obviously both ex-Tottenham players. And so we'll call it Dennis Kirkin for now. He's a natural left footer. He's a natural left back. So that is easier to properly assess. And Spurs need another left back. They've obviously got Jed Spence, who played largely as a left back this season, but was better as a right. Oh, sorry, I think he's better. Sorry, the noise. I think he actually played better. One second, I'm going to shut the door. Give me a moment. Sorry.
Lewis Hampton's just gone past Frank's place. Dennis Serkin's an interesting one. I wonder if that could potentially happen. Where's Dennis Serkin at the moment, Frank?
I'm pretty sure he's still at Sunderland. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm
he is.
Yeah, no, he's still at Sunderland. So that obviously has been linked. They could probably get a deal done. I'm sure he'd want to come back. And I don't expect them to go and spend 70 million on a left back because that's not necessary. But Spence, I think, played better as a left back last year for large parts of it. But it did cause us fluidity issues, I think. As I said yesterday, constantly having to come back onto his right and things like that. So you need a natural left footer, I think, on that side, and you need a natural right footer on the right hand side. So Spence and Porro, perfect. Dennis Kirkin, and like you, Dodgy, it just gives you a completely different sort of way of being able to do things. I mean, I don't know if you've got his FB ref, for example, up, but this whole idea that I said sort of yesterday, the fullbacks are so important. It's so important in this system, and that's because of the way that these forwards are always inside, where Kudus is, where Tell is. Whereas last year we had, as I say, we had these wingers that were all the way out here, and your fullbacks had to come inside, and you needed players last year like Porro. Porro was all right because he's technically very good. I think Dodgy struggled a little bit more, and then we really struggled when all of a sudden Ben Davies was playing. Ben Davies was playing at the left back because he was not capable of playing in midfield. And so what this gives you, though, this is more traditional in that you have, or more traditional, modern traditional, if you will, in these wing backs as opposed to inverted wing backs or whatever. And so Porro and Kirkin, Dodgy, Spence, whoever you want to talk about, are going to have a lot of space out wide, and because these guys have to drop in, the right back does as well, right? And so there's instantly sort of a shuffle over. And as I said before, if you're playing against wingers who don't track back a lot, then you're going to have bundles of space. And if you do have wingers that track back, you can constantly overload because you can always have a midfielder with them, always. Whether it be Maddison, Bergvall, Morgan Gibbs-White, we said, loves running that channel, especially on the left, at both sides. So you can overload. And Thomas Frank's whole game plan and idea is about overloading teams and sort of little triangles and little bits of play here and there. And so having Kirkin or any left back, I use him as an example. You need a left back that's comfortable, that's just totally comfortable on the ball, that's comfortable with the pace of the Premier League, but is also intelligent enough to know, right, there's space that I can bomb into. And Udogie, I've seen bits of that from, probably needs it to be coached into him more. But to be honest, I think with any player, if you have the right coaching and the right coaching team and staff around you, and they coach you in the correct way, then you can be coached to play in a certain system. And so, like you look at players like Trent Alexander-Arnold grew up playing as a right midfielder, a right winger. He played as this right back in Klopp's system. Yeah, because he could get forward, but he suited that system. They fit him into that system. They brought him through. And so it's exactly the same. Spurs have a young enough team that they can mould these guys, and that's what's quite exciting. But you add the firepower of Kudus and Morgan Gibbs-White, who are a bit more experienced in the Premier League, along with these young guys like Tell, like Bergvall. And even I include Van der Ven in there, and Porro's still young enough. And a lot of these guys are very young. So, as I say, the fullbacks are really important. So a left back is massively important because as also you can't have Udogie, Spencer. You can't have three across the two positions because there's going to be games where both of them need a rest. Both of them have played 4 games on the trot in 2 weeks. They need a rest. And so you can go, right, we're going to bring in Kirkin and Spence today at home to Bournemouth, and that is good enough. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever.
No, it's interesting points there, Frank. 100% about needing the squad depth and needing the different options. Do you think Dennis Serkin would be good enough for the Premier League? I mean, obviously he had a decent season with Sunderland. Just looking into some of his stats, was a regular starter there. But I mean, obviously Sunderland coming up. Do you think that he'll probably? I mean, I know it's only an example, but I think he'll probably stick around at Sunderland. Is there any other options that you can think of? I know you said about Hato that would do well in this position, because I've also just put a poll in the chat, and guys, get voting on the poll that I've just put in. Next signing, left back, number 6 or forward. At the moment, the heavy favourite is the number 6, but I do think that the left back is sort of not talked about enough. I do feel like that they need to look into that, especially as Reguilon did go, off at the end of the season on a free agent. His contract expired. Obviously, like you said, Spence filled in at left back, but naturally a more right-sided player. I just feel like, the left back is a bit overlooked, and I think it should be addressed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to pick up a comment really quickly that about I like the way you pumped narratives out on Morgan Gibbs-White, and then proceeded to call us a muppet and spelled it wrong, which is ironic. Oh
dear.
I guess the idea is that I'm saying that Gibbs-White is going to could play in this sort of 6 role or the 8 role, or and that he's not just going to play as a 10. And I think simply that's because that's kind of what he's done for Forest. That when you look at Forest, the lineup on whatever you look at on whatever app, it has him in the 10 in a 4-2-3-1 or whatever they play, and you go, oh, he's a number 10. And so if you don't, and I'm not pretending I watch Forest every week, by the way, but if you don't watch Forest every week, you Morgan Gibbs-White is a number 10. But Gibbs-White can play, as we said, even off the left. There's Gibbs-White has played as a left winger, he's played as a 6, he's played as an 8, he's played as a 10. And as I kind of said yesterday and again today, that we get a bit hung up on you have to have a 6, you have to have an 8, you have to have a 10, and that is the only way that you're going to. Thomas Frank does have that, and he had that for large parts of last season, but you can mould these guys into what you want, and that's why it's good having young players who are of a high enough quality. And like Gibbs-White's young enough that you can mould him for the next. If Thomas Frank's going to be here for the next 5 years, he can mould him into exactly what he wants, and so that's so. Gibbs-White has enough ability and enough talent and enough general awareness of the game and IQ and all this to play as a 6. If you want to call him a 6, a player as a 6. He can play anywhere across that midfield. That doesn't have any issue to me. That I think he's probably been, and I could be really wrong here. As I said yesterday, it's very hard to really decide because we haven't seen anything yet. But I would I think he's being brought in to play as much deeper as he is in an attacking role. As I say, Thomas Frank is so you play 48 games next season, and Thomas Frank is so versatile in the way he changes different systems, and nothing's ever set in stone for probably more than 2 weeks. They are going to switch things up, and whether it be just little tweaks in game that he might go, we're going to play, we're winning at Manchester City, we're winning 1-0, we're going to go 5-3-2 all of a sudden. And Gibbs-White isn't going to play as a 10. He's going to now drop into the 6 area, or into that 8 area, whatever you want to call it. And so just because they don't start as that, or they start as a 10, it doesn't mean they won't then change as one within a game, because management is just as much about in-game changing and in-game, development as it is just picking a team beforehand and giving them a team talk. And that's kind of what we got frustrated with Ange for a lot of the time, that he wouldn't do that in a game, but he'd do it before it. I mean, the team talks, I reckon there's probably not many coaches out there that are probably drop a better team talk than him. I imagine they'd run through brick walls for him if you listen to that. But then the actual general in-game management was pretty poor.
Yeah, in-game management wasn't good. There was no plan B, there was no plan C. It was just plan A all out, high line and high press. And it only worked to a certain extent, which was that Europa League run. Let's be honest, in the start of the Premier League campaign in 2023-2024, when we all got excited thinking we were going to win the league, and then a Chelsea game happened, which still gives me nightmares. John Smith, I have faith in my player, not his agent, but it's okay. You keep pumping out your narratives. John Smith, I said it to another Forest fan that joined earlier. Look, I get that you're angry that Elanga's left. I get you're angry Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be leaving, but listen, guys, like, you had a good season last year. I don't mind Forest. I just think your owner's absolutely just lost his head, to be honest with you. And I think that's the general narrative here, that your owner's lost his head. There's no other narrative involved, to be honest with you. But if he doesn't become a Spurs player, I'll sit here. I'll sit here and I'll come on here and I'll say we got it wrong. But for what I've read from Tier 1 journalists, including Fabrizio Romano, including Alistair Gold, it's just going to slow down the process. Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be a Tottenham Hotspur player. Guys, we're going to wrap things up very soon, but final point, Frank, and then we will. Just for those that didn't see the video yesterday, how do you think we're going to line up against Burnley? I know I've skipped a few pre-seasons in the PSG game. I'm aware of that. How do you think we'll line up against Burnley, considering they're more of a low block team, and considering that they'll probably be much more defensive than a lot of the Premier League outfits we'll face this season?
I think it's going to be pretty much like this, like so. I mean, it might be Johnson, but I think Kudus will start. As I say, it's tough to really tell just yet. But if you imagine Burnley sits something like this, when they're defending, I'm not sure exactly, but in that sort of block, that this should have enough. Where I like it is your double pivot, as I say, are both comfortable enough going forward. They're not just a brute that just can't do much else other than win the ball back. And so if Gibbs-White's got the ball, you can press both out, has got space to occupy, you're dodgy. Tell's obviously inside, can come inside, can run the channels, can do whatever. And instantly, like as I said, last year, so often we saw Dominic Solanke like this. And if he got the ball, if it was somehow fed into him, it'd have to be a miracle worker to lay one off or to turn and shoot.
Basically, needs to be Moussa Dembele to hold off 3 players, play on the pivot, and then somehow get a pass away.
Shades of Moussa Dembele, Lionel Messi, and probably the Brazilian Ronaldo all in one. And he isn't that. I love Dominic Solanke, but he's not. But having people that are comfortable on the ball around him means that they're more willing to take risks as well. A lot of the time we had Basuma, who was a little bit wary or whatever, and Johnson was a little bit wary of having the ball constantly and things like that. And that's okay. That's just different players that suit different strengths. But having a team that are comfortable on being on the ball, Tell, Maddison, Solanke, Kudus, I mean, that diamond of 4 there, that 2 in midfield, the fullback, certainly Porro, are very comfortable on being on the ball. And so there's less pressure on Solanke to have to do it himself. As I say, Maddison isn't going to have to drop deep as much, or whoever's the 10, whether that be Gibbs-White, whether it be Maddison, whether it be Kulusevski. So that's when if we do line up like this, it will hopefully be enough to, regardless of what's the system, it should be enough firepower in that team, looking at that team, give or take, to get rid of, to certainly beat Burnley. And as I say, what you're privileged in having now, certainly if you bring in Gibbs-White, is if it isn't working after 60 minutes and it's 1-0, but we're kind of getting a bit lucky and whatever, you go, all right, we've got Kulusevski on the bench, we've got Brennan Johnson on the bench, we've got Heung-min Son on the bench, we've got Bentancur on the bench, we've got Pape Sarr on the bench, Charlison's there. You know, you can look around the whole team, and they're starting to build a squad that's exciting. There's a comment there. The setup exposes us a bit with no true six, which I listen. If we're playing Manchester City, agreed. But when you're playing Burnley or whoever at home, these guys, as I say, can be coached to play in a role. You know, if you're coached well enough, then they can play this role. So, and as I say, we're not going to be like last year where we're this, open, expansive outfit where we're just like almost painful to watch, but a joy to play against. Because we're not going to be like that. Because instantly the fullbacks aren't letting all this space in behind. So they're going to formulate more of an actual back four more often than not. There might be one up here every so often, but more often than not, you're going to have an actual structured back line. And so the sixes are important and double pivots important, but it becomes less important than it would have been under Ange. Just for that sole reason that they're going to have a structure to their back line, which is the first time Spurs have had a structure to their back line in probably since Conte. And so, yeah, so if these guys are coached properly to be able to play in this pivot together, then there's no reason they can't. I agree. When we play Burnley, for example, so when we play Manchester City, for example, or PSG or whoever it be, then maybe you change Maddison for Bentancur and you go, we're going to play like this. And so Gibbs-White's your Gibbs-White and Bergvall, instead of being your double pivot, they can do this job as well, but then they're also going to hurt you going forward and be given a little bit more freedom.
100%.
But ultimately, as I say, it depends completely on who you play. So Burnley, I think it will be something along the lines of this, depending on obviously Gibbs-White coming in.
Yeah, interesting, guys. Let us know your thoughts on the lineup that you can expect for the Burnley game. And obviously, the PSG game will be a pretty full-strength theme in that Super Cup final. So let us know what you think. What would you change out of that? I'll bring it up on the screen once more. Obviously, Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bergvall, Morgan Gibbs-White, potentially in the double pivot there. Maddison as the 10, Kudus on the right, Tell on the left, Solanke up front. Maybe you think Son's playing. Maybe you think we'll sign a number 6 before then, and Bergvall will, be replaced by that number 6, and maybe Morgan Gibbs-White. Obviously, if that goes ahead, when that goes ahead, he'll be integrated as well. Guys, Ronnie's saying again, Son for Tell. Guys, let us know in the comments below, offline on the live chat or whatever else. But let us know if you're watching on repeat, your thoughts on that lineup, your thoughts on Morgan Gibbs-White, and the update on that. Your thoughts on a potential signing of the likes of a number 6, a Wharton, and so on. What do you think about the left-back situation as well? Let us know in the comments section below. And also let us know your thoughts on anything else Spurs-related. Guys, another great stream. Really appreciate all the support. 250 of you in the house the whole time. Really hope you are enjoying these as much as Frank and I are. Keep supporting us by hitting the like button. Keep supporting us by hitting the subscribe button, all free to do so, and turn on those notification bells and give me a little ring, ding, ding in the comment section so you never miss us going live and you never miss a video. We'll be back tomorrow, similar time, around 5:30, 6 p.m. UK time, to go through all the latest updates. Maybe there'll be a bit of an update on Morgan Gibbs-White that's hopefully for the best and reassures us a little bit more. We'll do some more tactical analysis tomorrow with Frank, our very own Thomas Frank AI version, and will be all the latest updates on Tottenham Hotspur. But guys, as always, thanks for watching. And remember, come on you Spurs!